So today we're going to talk more about death and dying and about what to do when it happens. So I brought, I think I was asked to go through some of the things we use when people die, some like the Bardo blankets, etc. So I will do that. But first I wanted to go through briefly, just to read through the root verses of the 6 Bardos. So of course, death and dying, one of the Bardos is the Bardo of death, but really we talk about 6 Bardos, sometimes divided into 4 Bardos. So I'm not going to go into, it's not like instructions in the Bardos, but it is more just reading you this text by, it's a Karma Lingpa. It's a text by Karma Lingpa from a Terma by Karma Lingpa. And there's also a commentary on that. And in that commentary, for each of the Bardos, it gives a really nice little analogy of what that Bardo is about. Sort of to remind us of the Bardo itself, the meaning of the Bardo. Bardo means an intermediate state. In case you're not aware, it's like a Tibetan word for meaning in between. Bardo, in between. But often when we talk about Bardo, we think of, okay, time of death or after death. We think of the time after death, before rebirth. But actually, everything is considered a Bardo. Everything is considered an intermediate state. An intermediate state from what has just gone and what is about to come. There's this Bardo right now. So it's full of Bardos. So here you have the root verses of the 6 Bardos, and that contains 3 Bardos for this life and 3 Bardos for after death. And sometimes, like I said, you talk about 4 Bardos. That means the 3 Bardos for this life have been merged into one, which is the Bardo of this life. Called the Bardo of this life. So the 3 first Bardos is the Bardo of this life, the Bardo of dream, and the Bardo of meditation. And they are quite often just gathered into one because you dream and you meditate during this life. So the analogy for the Bardo of this life, it says it's like a swallow building its nest. You know how good swallows are at building nests, right? They come back every time to the same spot again and again, even if the nest is gone, they still find the exact same spot after they have, been traveling thousands of miles. They find a place where they prepare like the best place for their eggs, for their nest and their babies, and a place that has access to water, access to the right mud, access to a place where you can, glue it all up. And so they build this place to raise their young. And the same way is that during our life, during this Bardo of this life, we should be like the swallows. It says if the swallows can do it, we should also be able to do it. But not just in the terms of like building a house and raising the young, but in terms of applying ourselves to the Dharma. Study, contemplate, and meditate. Get things straight. Get everything right. The way the swallows get it right to, find the spot that's just perfect for their nest. And they do it again and again. So we should in the same way apply ourselves in the Bardo of this life to the Dharma. Get everything right. And work hard on it. So Karma Lingpa for this, he says, Jema. Jema is like an expression of oh my, or like from the heart. Jema. Now when the Bardo of this life is dawning upon me, I will abandon laziness. You don't need to, I'll give you. For which life has no time. Enter undistracted the path of study, reflection and meditation, making perceptions and mind the path and realize the 3 kayas. Now that for once I have attained a human body, this is not the time to remain in the ways of distraction. Then he goes on for the Bardo of dream. And the analogy for the Bardo of dream, it says it's like holding up a torch in a dark night or in a dark room. You hold up a torch and you can see very clearly. So this refers to us giving up the darkness of ignorance, especially during sleep time. Normally when we go to sleep, we just sort of crash out, we have no awareness, we just let our distracted mind take over, our usual daydreaming continues as we go to sleep and during our sleeping time. So we are in a way perpetuating ignorance. He calls it the sleep of ignorance. And here, with like bringing awareness into our sleep state, it means we go to sleep with awareness. We go to sleep in meditation. And we try to bring that awareness and clarity into our sleep state, where we can recognize we are dreaming. We can take some, have some control over the dream state. It's actually said that if we have, the more control we have of our sleep state when we are dreaming, that will give us a sense of how much control we have in the Bardo of death. So I think for myself I can say not much, not much at all. Because mostly we just go to sleep and we are off, isn't it? In our sleep of ignorance. So this Bardo is about training the mind in dream and sleep. So Kamalingpa says about the Bardo of dream, he says, Chema, now when the Bardo of dreams is dawning upon me, I will abandon the heedless, corpse-like sleep of ignorance and settle the mind in its natural state without distraction. Recognizing dreams, I will train in transformation and clear light. I must not simply slumber like an animal, but combine sleep with realization. This is crucial. And then for the Bardo of meditation, the analogy is a lost child that is finding its mother. It's like a child that has been separated from its mother, say in a marketplace where it's very, very busy, lots of people, and something happens and they get separated. And then after a while they find each other again. And there's instant recognition. Like the mother immediately knows the child immediately knows the mother, and they run together like that. So when seeing each other. So this is about like the analogy of meditation in the Bardo meditation, when we are practicing, when we refine the nature of mind that we have become separated from. We are like the child that has been separated from its mother, but immediately when we see it, we know right away. There's no questions that need to be asked because we understand right away. We know this is it. This is my mother. This is the nature of mind. Like it says in Mapa's life story, when he has this experience of the nature of mind, and he says, even now if all the Buddhas came in front of me, I would have nothing to ask them, because he had that recognition. So it's like recognizing our own nature. That's the purpose of meditation. So here Kamalingpa says, he calls it the Bardo of Samadhi, instead of Bardo Samtenji Bardo, Bardo Samadhi, Bardo meditation. So he says, Chiama, now when the Bardo of Samadhi is dawning upon me, I will abandon all forms of distraction and delusion and rest in the infinite state that is free of distraction and grasping. Gaining stability in the two stages of generation and perfection. At this point of single-pointed meditation, having given up activity, I must not fall under the sway of afflictions and delusion. So then the bardo of the process of dying. So those three were the bardos of this life. Then now it's the three bardos of afterlife. And first is the bardo of the process of dying, when we actually, you know, the elements are closing down and we are in that process. So it says, the analogy is that it's like sending a swift messenger with orders from the king. Like the king is sending this runner, you know, very fast runner who has a message, very important message. And the messenger has to do whatever, he has to deliver this message wherever the king tells him to bring it. And go straight to the delivery point. No sidetracks, no detours, no delays of any kind. And so it's said to be like that. When dying, then we need to use the teachings to take us directly to the point, directly to where we're meant to go. At the point of death, we should not have detours, we should not have doubts, we should not have confusion, we should not have a lot of anxiety or fears or anger or negative emotions that will take us into side tracks, but instead go straight to the next favorable rebirth. So Kamalingpa, he says, Tiema, now when the bardo of dying is dawning upon me, I will abandon all grasping, yearning and attachment, and enter undistracted, a state in which the instructions are clear, and transfer my own awareness into the sphere of unborn space. As I'm about to leave this compound body of flesh and blood, I will know it to be a transitory illusion. The messenger is a bit like Poa. When you do Poa, this is the transference of consciousness. And then we have the fifth bardo of Dharmata. And this says that, the analogy says it's like a child crawling onto the lap of its mother. Now before they recognized each other, now it's like the child is actually crawling up onto the lap and uniting with the mother. So this, the bardo of Dharmata, is where there is a you could say, opportunity to recognize the nature of mind, or it is where all of our obscurations are stripped away, attachment, aversion and ignorance completely dissolve for a period of time until everything switches on again. So it refers to that moment of becoming inseparable, or recognizing and becoming inseparable from the nature of mind, knowing who we are from realization. There's no doubt at all when we come face to face with, you say, luminosity or realization. And at that point we don't run away from it. Instead we crawl up on the lap of our mother. We recognize it and we embrace it. So Kamalingpa says, Tiema, now when the bardo of Dharmata is dawning upon me, I will abandon all fear and terror, recognizing whatever appears as the natural display of awareness. I will know it to be the way this bardo unfolds. Now that I have reached this momentous, crucial point, I will not fear these natural manifestations, the peaceful and wrathful deities. And the last of the 6 bardos is the bardo of becoming. So it's the bardo of rebirth. We take birth again. And the analogy for that says it's like a water canal that has cracks in it. And so this analogy refers to the time when we have to take rebirth, that we have different choices. There are choices and different appearances arise. And if we have confusion about our natural state of mind, or if we have confusion and fear within that state, then that is the cracks. That is what creates the cracks. So it said we need to mend the cracks to make sure that it's like a water canal, in a field. You want to direct the water, it goes into that field and that field, wherever it's needed. So here, it's like we want to make sure that we connect up with a good rebirth. We want to make sure that we connect up with all the right conditions for the future rebirth. We meet the Dharma again. We meet the Dharma teachings again. We have a good parent, or if we are aiming for Dewa Chen, wherever it is we are going, we want it to be a good rebirth where we can continue our spiritual path. So that's the Bardo becoming. And the cracks, so the cracks, it also, and mending the cracks, it also refers to the fact of like trying to mend the cracks so we don't get reborn within the 6 realms of existence, within samsara, like yesterday, like samsara of suffering. And there are different practices that are used for that, such as visualizing oneself as a yidam, and sometimes yidam and consort. So Karma Lingpa says here, Chema, now when the bardo of becoming is dawning upon me, I will concentrate my mind with single-pointed determination, strive to prolong the results of good karma, close the entrance to rebirth, and try to keep from being reborn. This is a time when perseverance and pure perception are required. Abandon jealousy and meditate on the master and consort. Then he finishes with one last verse. He says, with mind far off and no thought of impending death, performing the meaningless activities of this life, to return empty-handed now would be utterly deluded. Recognize what is needed, the sacred Dharma. Why not practice it now, at this very moment? The great accomplished gurus have said, if you do not keep in mind your master's instructions, are you not deceiving yourself? So really the gist of this is that we spend so much time chasing after other things. Like we spend so much time on the past and on the future, and we spend so much time being lost. We call it being lost in thought, daydreams. There's one Indian master called Padampa Sangye. He says, when we are always caught up thinking about the past, he says it's like making drawings on the surface of a water. It's like making a big piece of artwork on the surface of water. It has no fruition. It just gets washed away. And if we are always dreaming about the future, daydreaming about the future, we are like a fisherman who is casting his fishing net into a dry riverbed. Of course, we don't get anything. So he says, our constant preoccupation with past and future is like that. It's quite wasted activity, useless activity. And instead we should be focused on the present moment. And contemplating on impermanence and focusing on the Dharma, study and practice the Dharma. So the point, of course, of all of this is that we should try and focus our mind, try and be present and recognize that we are all going to die, and what we do at that time. And we talked a lot about that yesterday. So today I was also going to then look at some of the documents we have available to help. We have something called the Funeral Advice for Buddhists according to the Tibetan tradition. And sometimes it's called When I Go, a Summary of Your Wishes. So this funeral advice, it's composed of a few different documents. So there's a document for when a Buddhist dies, what to do when a Buddhist dies. When a Buddhist dies, for nurses, one document for nurses, one for relatives, one for undertakers. And there's a document saying simple practices to help the dying, the dead, and the bereaved. So this has all been compiled by the various Bardo groups, both with Akong Rinpoche's help. I think it was started by the Cape Town Bardo group, and then also the London Bardo group, but really originally started in Cape Town under Akong Rinpoche's guidance. And then in London also we had guidance from Akong Rinpoche. So these documents are now available. And I brought a copy here, I'll leave here. But so it talks about the prayers when somebody dies, and the main points to consider when a Buddhist dies. But that I actually talked a lot about yesterday. The main points to consider, such as a peaceful environment, as much as one is possible to try and create a peaceful environment, and that those who are accompanying the person should have as much stability as possible, not to agitate the dying person. So I think some of the things I actually repeated in here, so I might be repeating myself a little bit in this process, but it says like, while one still is able to practice. So it's talking about whether it's yourself dying or someone else is dying. In either case, it's the same. One should keep one's root guru, one's teacher, whoever you consider to be your teacher, clearly in mind, or to whichever one has great devotion towards. And then you should do whatever practice you're familiar with, whatever you're most familiar with, that is most beneficial. So you should not think, oh, now I have to do Poa. I have only done Poa a few times. I'm not sure. I don't remember how to do it, or I don't know how to do Amitabha. I don't know this or that practice. You should just simply do the practice that you are most familiar with. That will be the most beneficial. It will help to keep your mind focused and clear and calm as much as possible. And then during the dying process, then a friend or someone who is calm and kind, family member or friend, ideally should sit at the bedside and either read gently from the Dharma or speak gently to the person who's dying. Tell them, don't be afraid, say the name of the person. Don't be afraid, whatever's happening, it is just a projection of your mind, and remind the person of all the different Dharma aspects that they are familiar with, or that you can find, and that you are familiar with, and that you can read to them. So they keep coming back to the Dharma, saying there's nothing to fear, just relax, and go towards the bright light. You can say that, of course you can say go towards the bright light, but I also have to say that although the various lights and appearances in the Bardo are described in great detail in the Bardo Turtle, it's also said that for most practitioners this will just happen in a flash. It will be come and gone. It will not be something that we will have great opportunity really to recognize necessarily, because timing is different in the Bardo. So maybe we have to not take it so literal, what we read in the Bardo Turtle. But having someone sitting on your bedside and reminding you, bringing your mind back to the Dharma continuously, that's very beneficial. What is useful is to have, if the person who's dying has a strong relation or strong connection and devotion to a teacher, to play some chanting, some mantra recitation, some prayers by that teacher. Like, for example, if you had a CD of Akong Rinpoche reciting the Bardo prayer or reciting a mantra, then playing that by the bedside if the person has a connection with Akong Rinpoche or another teacher. Because also it's said that hearing is the last of the 5 senses to dissolve. So even though you may not be able to see, smell, taste, touch, but you may still be able to hear. In the dissolution process, hearing is the last to go. So for that reason, even if the person seems unconscious, you can still talk to them. They may still be able to hear you. They may still be able to benefit from, listening also, especially to the voice of their guru, etc. And then if the dying person has a strong connection with a Buddhist center, particular Buddhist center, or particular teacher, then you should try to inform them. The person is dying, and please do prayers for them. Or when the person has died, please ask them to do prayers. So contact the Buddhist centers, teachers, and request prayers. And then in general, the body should not be moved. Ideally should not be moved or even touched for at least 4 hours. Akungumpa said minimum 4 hours. Try and leave the body undisturbed for 4 hours. Even though sometimes it says longer, but he says 4 hours is enough. So if, for example, somebody dies in hospital, then you ask the nurses, the doctors, you have like a document you give in advance to the nurses and the doctors so that they're aware of it, that when my friend dies, please do not, could you leave the body undisturbed for 4 hours? To give that's helpful. And then when the person has died, then there are some items that it is helpful, like at least potentially helpful it says like to promote liberation if we place them on the body of the person. And that is the mandalas of the, like they say, liberation through touching. Liberation through touching mandala blanket, or just a mandala. So liberation through touching, it's actually called liberation through touching, through seeing, through hearing. Touching, hearing, can't remember if there was more than that, but certainly here in this case it's touching, because it's touching the body. So you place these mandalas on the body. Before we didn't have a mandala blanket, but then Akung Rinpoche, he had mandala blankets printed in Nepal, I think. But before that we used paper mandalas. So I brought a set of paper mandalas. Because those is very easy. You print the mandalas and then you put saffron water on, you cut them out and put saffron water, and then you place them on the top of the body when the body is lying, when the person has died. And there's a little diagram that tells you where the different mandalas go on the body. They basically go on all the main parts, like the crown of the head, the throat, crown of the head, forehead, throat, heart. Then goes one underneath the corpse, and then one on top of the coffin, or underneath the coffin and on top of the coffin. This actually corresponds to what you have inside the stupa and Samye Ling. Have you been, many of you, in Samye Ling stupa? Some of you? So inside Samye Ling stupa is where it's a stupa like you have here. You can walk inside. There's a shrine room in the center of the stupa. And that's where the coffins are brought, when they're brought to Samye Ling. It's like an Amitabha shrine. There's Chenrezig Amitabha and Vajrapani. And then in the floor there is Dodhisempa, Vajrasattva mandala, sitting in the floor, like a brass mandala. And there's another mandala above, liberation through seeing, sitting in the ceiling. And the coffin is placed so that the head is right between those two, sort of sandwiched between those two. So these are the ones that you're placing on the coffin, one underneath the coffin, one on top of the coffin. And then you can also put a picture, or a picture of Chenrezig, or a picture of Amitabha, a picture of the pictures in the coffin. That's also okay. So those are these are the paper mandalas. I'll leave you these as well for the Bardo group. Maybe the Bardo group can look at this. And it has the instructions for how to place them, where to place them. And then I'll leave you one blanket, this is the instructions for how to place the blanket, and a drawing. This is the blanket. So this is how it should be placed on the body. There's a diagram. So it's quite a big blanket. I placed it on I remember placing it on somebody who was very short, and so what do is you fold it up, fold the blanket if it's necessary to make sure that the mandalas are in the right places. And then both the blanket and the mandalas are just either buried or cremated with a person, depending on what the choices of the person. So they don't have so many of these blankets left in Samiling anymore. And I don't know if there's any way that when your Evo shop person goes out, he's in the barn. Yeah, maybe at some point he might be able to get some more printed, because they're so large that it's quite difficult to get them printed here. I don't know, something to think about. They should they should be printed on cotton. The other ones that were printed were a little bit like nylon or something. They were not so nice material. But if there's a possibility of getting them printed, then I'm sure other centers would like to get some as well. Just mentioning that in case you are, because I know Evo travels. So this is part of the main points to consider when a Buddhist dies. So other points to consider is organ donation. Whether one is offering one's body for the benefit of others or not. You could say that it's the ultimate generosity. Some people wish to do it, some people may not. And if one does offer one's body as for organ donation, then of course all the advice about not disturbing the body has to be disregarded, because that has to happen very, very quickly. And what Akong Rinpoche strongly advised is that anyone who wants to be an organ donor, then they should prepare by practicing Chö, especially Chö. Because with the Chö practice, you are visualizing and imagining your own body being offered. And if one doesn't have some practice and training in advance, then it's said that after death, when one's body is being cut up, one might feel that it's being stolen. One might get very distressed and very disturbed in the Bardo. So one should have some training about letting go of attachment to one's body in order to offer one's organs, as advised. So then there are other practical things to think about when a person dies, and that's usually when a family feels least able to think about all these practical things, because emotionally they're distraught from having lost a relative. But then you have to think about funerals, you have to think about undertakers, you have to choose an undertaker. And there are many important decisions that have to be made even just within a few hours of someone's death. So it's very helpful to find a sympathetic undertaker who will help and support you during that time. And there's a document in here that's called when a Buddhist dies, and it's a document for undertakers that you can then hand to them. And you have to think about where to take the body. And of course, like in Samiling, people bring the body to the stupa if you're very, very close. But if you are not very close to Samiling stupa, then it's probably not going to be the case. The body is brought there. So it's also important to know that it is possible to leave the body at home. At least in the UK, there's no law that prohibits you from keeping the body of a dying person at home for a period of time. And when you contact the undertaker, then there is a paper for the undertaker and for professionals caring for the body, and there's sort of a few points that you're asking them to do. You're saying like, or in the hospitals where you're saying, because they normally wash the body and dress the body by the nurses, then you ask them to just lift the body into the coffin and avoid unnecessary contact and movement, because it may not be possible to leave the body undisturbed. So you're asking that if the body needs to be washed, please just do the absolute minimum. And if the prayers and mandala blankets have been placed on the body already, please put them back. Please replace them on the coffin. Please refrigerate the body rather than embalming, if that is at all possible, because some undertakers, they embalm the body. That means that they inject some sort of, I don't know what it's called, some sort of wax into the body to keep it looking at its best, I think. But that is like an old-fashioned method that just automatically, that's the way it's done. It's been done for a long, long time. But now more modern funeral directors, they don't do that anymore. And you can ask them not to do that. And also in terms of if it's in hospital, and doctors may need to do a post-mortem to find out the reason for death, then you generally ask if it's possible to postpone it for as long as possible, like 3.5 days or at least 4 hours, however long you can. And then another practical decision you also have to make for at that time, like those who have lost a loved one, is whether the person is going to be cremated or buried. And ideally that should not take place before like 3.5 hours sorry, 3.5 days. After 3.5 days. Often it takes much longer anyways, but it's recommended that cremation or burial doesn't take place until after 3.5 days have passed. So then there's a section of this document that that gives you. Then of course also ideally you would have the body placed somewhere where family members can come and sit around and do prayers in a peaceful environment. Sit and do prayers with the body before the final burial. And then there's a separate section of this document that is an option for someone to fill in before they die. It contains, it's sort of like a sample letter, a sample letter to my family. It says, before my final days, my prayer arrangements about organ donation and various other arrangements, so that it's almost like a document you can fill out and leave for your family or your loved ones, your close ones, to say, these are my wishes. I am a Buddhist, this is what I would like to happen, and you sign it, you date, this is what I would like to happen with my body. And for example, unless I'm totally incapacitated, please always ask me first before deciding what is best for me. Do try to communicate with me, however difficult this may be. It is my understanding that even in a coma, awareness and hearing are possible. If at all possible, do not leave me to die alone. Let there be a witness to my passing, a loving, quiet presence. So it's a document that one can fill out, and of course it can also be arranged. It doesn't have to be exactly like this. It's like a possibility of a document. One can tick different things. One can tick different things, or how you would like, what kind of prayers you would like, whether you want organ donation or you don't want organ donation, what kind of practical arrangement you have, where you wish to be cremated, or if you wish to be buried, whether you want it to be an ordinary cemetery or, like a green burial, we call it in English, a green burial where you get buried in nature and a tree is planted near you and maybe your name is put somewhere nearby. But it's not it's not possible. There's some places. Anyway, you might not die in Belgium. But it gives you all these different options to tick. I don't know if we need to translate, but it tells you. I think you can actually download this from the Samsung London website. This is all downloadable as various different. So here's just printed. Mine is just printed all in one, but they are different. If you go onto our website and you go onto, I think it says what we do or something like this, or what we offer, and you scroll down, it says death and dying. We offer death and dying. You click on that, and then you scroll down to the bottom, and then it gives you a whole options of documents you can print out. And these are part of the documents. In where? The mandalas are not there. No. It would be nice if they were there. So it gives you like a thing of what to think about. Because there's so many things to think about for the people left behind. If you've never organized a funeral before, you don't even know what does it mean, what do you have to do. The doctor has to write a death certificate. Until then, you haven't died. You're only dead when you have the death certificate. So if you have in advance thought about this, and you have then shared that document with some of your family, etc., then it makes it easier for everyone. They know what kind of coffin you want, or if you can talk with them about it, what kind of funeral service you want, whether you want your ashes to be scattered, whether you want them to be in a stupa or down. I saw you have a little a stupa, what do you call it, ashes as well. And then other useful information. One problem that is now happening is that everybody has passwords. And so when someone dies, everything is so secret, you can't, like a daughter cannot find her father's or mother's password to access their, their bank accounts and their businesses and all the various things. There's passwords on everything. Their phones, you cannot open the phone. You cannot get the contacts of all the people to contact. So there's a page for your passwords. Write down your password somewhere, because otherwise you really give people a hard time. People do have a hard time afterwards. I think Cami could not open an account, but just laptop. I don't know what happened. So then what we also have is a little card like this. I didn't realize until I brought it that this one is actually printed upside down. It's meant to be like this. But you fold it and it fits right in. I'm carrying one like this with me all the time. And you put it inside, they're like the same size as credit cards and all the rest. And inside there it says, at the time of my death. So it's like, if you have it on you and you have a heart attack out on the bus or something, then it gives you your name, your Buddhist center, and who to contact. In the event of my death, please contact the following Center for Prayers and the following people. So it gives here, of course, this is a Samsung, but you could have a Samsung Brussels one like this, where it tells you everybody can carry one like this, and says in the event of my, please contact Samsung Brussels and the following people, your closest, your partner, your children, etc. It's very simple, just as when I die. Don't touch the body. Maybe you don't. Don't on this. I don't think you do on this, because if you are, and you will, if you on the bus, people will touch your body. You will have to get. I would prefer to have somebody trying to bring me back to life than not to be touched. Oh, it does say. Oh, no. It does say here. It says, at the time of my death, I request the following. Please try to leave my body undisturbed for 4 hours. Arrange for prayers immediately. Maintain tranquil. All these things that we have now, it does say, but only if they're sure I've died. So just one last thing is that, so when somebody has died, yes, of course we do prayers for them, regularly them, but it says every seventh day, are considered to be significant for the person who's died. So on those days, it's good, like, to do more prayers, to do more, like light candles or whatever you do. So the 7th, 14th, 21st, 28th, 35th, 42nd, and 49th day. And you can do things like do positive actions and dedicate it to the deceased. So you can feed the homeless, make offerings, take vows, give up smoking, give up alcohol, or give up meat, all these things like positive activities, and then dedicate it to the merit of the person who's died as well. And so in terms of the practices to help the dying or the dead or the bereaved, during those 49 days, then Akong Rinpoche he's made many recommendations, of course, but here it says he recommended Chenrezig prayers or simply reciting the Mani mantra or Mani Peme Hung as often as possible during the 49 days, and especially during the first 3 days. But prayers, so that is recommended, and then whatever you're familiar with, whatever prayers you are most familiar with, then they are the most powerful, most effective. But also taking and sending, Tonglen meditation is recommended, Amitabha. So whatever one can, one should do as much as possible. Set time aside, if you can, set a few moments daily to talk to the dead person, to reassure them, the dead person. And then I would just recommend also, there's one very, very beautiful prayer in the Kajumandam book that many of you might have, the one that's been composed by the Karmapa. And it's called Dedications for the Living and the Deceased. Dedication, and it's written by the first Karmapa. For the living and deceased. So it's actually a prayer by the first Karmapa, Dusum Chenpa. So it's very powerful, very direct to have words from the first Karmapa to all of us. And he starts off by, he has a whole section on the importance of dedicating, and the importance of dedications both for the living and for the deceased. And you recite, so there's the first part of the prayer is for the living, and then, but you can just recite the part for the deceased, for the dead. And in there it has quite a few places where you insert the name of the person you are praying for. So I'll leave this one with you as well, but there is a big section, it's maybe too long, but it talks to you about the importance. This is Dusum Chenpa's words translated from Tibetan about the importance of dedication and dedicating for the dead. So, do you have a card here from Samsung Belgium of the one that you have? You already have.
Years ago we made a copy.
Okay. Oh, good, good, good.
We can reprint them. I
You
don't know if there are still cards as such here.
Yeah.
But we can reprint them.
Nice. Okay, well then I think we finished here. Is there any last anything you would like to talk about? Any questions? You don't need. We never had them blessed. You don't need to. I think the blessing is in the mandala itself. They don't have to be double blessed. Of course it's okay to have it done, but it's not necessary. Just saffron is enough. So you have already a packet of the mandalas, do you?
Not the paper ones, so it's precious if you have them. So
Oh, you don't have the paper ones?
no, they've been lost.
Oh, okay.
We were searching actually with Champagne. We are in a conversation to try and redo the blanket and to print it in different size, but we are still in the processing.
Oh, okay. That would be nice.
And we missed exactly to add the paper mandalas to take scans of them.
Okay, so I leave you this, yeah.
So it's not a question, it's more sharing her own experience. Her mother died shortly, and she was able to accompany her for the last 3 months. And her mother was lost and sad, but after she died, there was lots of feeling of love and light. And then she wrote a book, I think it's Sajja Rinpoche on meditation, and it was a discovery. She hadn't read such book before, and it was really a revelation. And she started meditating, and then she had a dream in which a shaman told her that she would die within 7 months. And at the same time, she felt that she had little time left, but also it gave her motivation and the will to meditate and to meditate more and to work on her negative emotions, mainly frustrations and sadness, especially when looking at the state of the world currently. And she's very happy that she came to listen to you, because she got several answers from what she heard the 2 last days, and she's very happy and grateful.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. Yeah.
Would it be possible to understand a little more about why over the 49 days, very interested in this, this time span, very interested in 49 days.
J'ai pas compris. 49 days.
Derrière les 49 jours, en fait, c'est ça qui est l'intérêt.
I don't actually, off the top of my head, I don't remember. Sorry, but I'm sure there is some reason. I don't remember. But what is said is that for most people, it goes much quicker than 49 days. 49 days is just an estimate, because we don't know exactly how long it takes. I'm sure the 49 days has a meaning, but it doesn't mean that for everybody it's 49 days. I think the stronger a practitioner you are, the more the longer the process may take. But there's also various different levels of practitioners. Some practitioners don't even go through the Bardo. They realize, like the tulkus who can choose their rebirth, they don't even go through the Bardo. But others who have a high level of realization, they're able to rest within a samadhi or within absorption for a long period of time in the Bardo. Whereas for, if I may say so, for us, maybe not for you, but certainly for me, I think it will be a very quick period. Because if we look at our own meditation, how long can we rest in one-pointed non-distraction with clarity and presence, apart from occasionally, maybe where we have very good meditation, then mostly our mind is very fickle and very all over the place, very distracted. So that means that in the Bardo we are not going to rest in absorption. So we will go very quickly through many of the different stages. So to summarize, I will maybe just say, try and if you are interested in Buddhism and if you are interested in meditation, you should just attend as much as you can, as much as is available. Try and learn, study Buddhism, apply it in your daily practice. You know, not only when you're sitting in meditation, but in your daily life, try and apply the principles, living according to the principles of Buddhism, which is really, you could say, ethics, non-harming, trying to live a good life, trying to live a life that where you are not only giving up harming others, but you are actively trying to do good in your life and make the world a better place, and work on your own mind to develop inner stability and inner contentment. So we're not always striving for things externally, because in the West that's what we are very much encouraged to think, that everything, if we can just fulfill all our external needs, then we will be happy. But of course, if we haven't tamed our mind, then there's still a lot of struggle. There's still a lot of tension and anxiety. The external things is very good. It can help us if we have the right, of course, if we have the right material situations and everything we need, it will support us, but it won't give us inner peace and happiness, longer lasting happiness. So I just want to finish on that note, because that's what Karma Lingpa said: don't be lazy. Try not to be lazy. Apply yourself. Don't be distracted. Don't give in to distraction. And inspire yourself. Inspire yourself for meditation, because impermanence is there wherever we look, and it's in our own life. It's in everything around us. So if we can apply the principles, we will definitely benefit. Everyone will benefit. If you benefit, your loved ones will benefit, your friends will benefit around you, because you will be less distracted, you will be more attentive to their needs, you will be kinder, you will be more patient, you will be less angry, and you will be more at peace with yourself and with everyone around you. Okay. So just want to say thank you to everybody from Samizang Brussels and for inviting me here, and then we do the dedication. Okay. Arsanam de tam che se pane topne nye pe danam pam che ne che gana che balab chuk paye se pe sole do wa do wa sho chang cho sem cho rimpo che ma che panam je jo je che pa nyam pa me pa dang kon e kon do vel wa sho